Hey guys, it's Eric, owner of Farpoint Farms here in the mountains, North Carolina, and tonight it's time to take a look at a pro level scan tool. Now we've looked at our code reader, right? The eDiag, right? That's just your pocket code reader. Then we looked at the Autel 503, which was a really nice intermediate like that. For a homeowner, that's like top of the line, and it would also be great for your GS or your beginning techs, because it offered some live data and it had some oil life reset stuff and really some graphing capability. Pretty fancy tool for what it was. We also looked at the Foxwell 624 Elite. Now that is pretty darn close to a pro level scan tool. In fact, most techs could probably make a healthy living just with that scan tool. It offered updates for free. It has a lot of features and functions. It was an all mode scanner. But if you're going to run a shop, if you're going to want to get into those really difficult diag jobs, you're going to want something that is an all mode scan tool, and it's going to have bi-directional controls and all those modules. You're looking at something pretty fancy. Now Snap-on, Matco, Mac, Cornwell, they all make ones. And then you have Autel, OTC, Bosch, Launch, and Autel's now getting into it, and Foxwell's getting into it. Foxwell has the GT60, Autel has the X6. So a lot of companies, Snap-on, Harbor Freight even has the Zurich and Zurich Pro. So there's a lot of companies out there making pro level scan tools, and it can be kind of difficult to figure out what you want to use. Now I've got a very aging out now, but I have a Genesis OTC product here. This is the original Genesis. They had the Genesis Evo, and then of course they went on Genesis Touch and the Evolve and so on and so forth, all of which were great tools. This one here, unfortunately, is now showing its age. It works great on older cars, but its last update was 2015, and there's just no support for it anymore, so it's time to start looking. Now, I've been allowed to bring home and review a couple of pro-level scan tools that I have access to through various companies that I work with, and the first one I'm going to be working with here is this one here, and that is the MAXICOM, what is this one? This is the MK908. They do make some variations on this, but this is the Autel MAXICOM. So if you know the MaxiSys, or let's see, what was it called? The Autel really came screaming onto the market with the, the 807 or 707 or something like that, which was a great scan tool, but it did offer bi-directional controls, but it had a shortcoming, and that was that it did not have battery capability, no battery backup. So the second it unplugged, or if you cycled the key, the system crashed and you had to go through the 40-second reboot process to get back in there. That's why, and now of course they finally stopped supporting that as well, but they fixed all those problems with this scan tool right here. The MAXICOM is a pro level scanner. It has a nice wireless dongle here. This is what plugs in. Now this is Bluetooth, USB, also capable, so you can plug it in if you wanted to, or just go with Bluetooth. I find it works great with Bluetooth. You can literally have a car out in the parking lot and stay inside and out of the rain or whatnot and do your diag, so that's kind of cool. So anyway, I'm going to go through it here. I'll get the camera much closer up, and we'll do a up close on it. But as you can see, it is a beautiful touchscreen. It has a lot of features here. So let me go ahead and get this thing off the tripod, or get the tripod closer up, and we'll just walk through this, because this tool does a lot of cool things, and I just want to cover some of it for you, for those of you considering moving up to a pro level scan tool. All right, here we are up close and personal with this thing, and we do have a lot of stuff here. So one of the things you're going to get with the MAXICOM that, depending on the size of your shop, might be the make it or break it tool, is that it offers the shop manager, data manager, and service managing systems. So what those are is the equivalent of, say, All Data or Shop Key, or there's a lot of different versions out there of software that you can use to run a small business. They offer their own. I'll be honest with you, I have not used this much, but we have ability to keep track of customer databases. We have our workshop information, as far as that's going to be what tech has what ticket, and vehicle history information, which is a good thing to keep track of. So those are features that you don't often see in a scan tool, and I do find that to be kind of cool that it does have that. Service info here. This is going to give us all our possible settings. Now, I don't usually go in this direction. I usually go in through the car, pick the year, pick that. And it usually auto finds cars, but I can go in through that and it'll bring you to these charts for that specific vehicle. The settings, well, is a pretty self-explanatory. ADAS is if you wanted to set up the calibration system for self-driving or auto-correcting cars. This does have that capability, which is fairly impressive. But you, of course, have to purchase the extra equipment. We do not have any of that at our shop, so that's kind of a no-no. Updates, as you can see, I actually got some updates need to be done. Remote desk is cool, and this thing, let me, before we even go any farther than that, this thing does have HDMI out, so when I do training, I'll oftentimes plug this into a much larger screen. That way everyone doesn't have to just huddle around and watch the screen, try to figure out what I'm doing. I can display that on a large screen TV set, and they can just sit back and watch from farther out, which is very helpful to folks trying to figure out, you know, what's going on. VCI Manager, that's just simply going to help you connect to your VCI in case you have more than one, or in case you lose one and buy a replacement. Occasionally these things do get lost. MaxiFix is the cloud. It's the equivalent of Identifix. I don't think I have it set up on this, but it's like Identifix for Autel's, you know, proprietary scan tool. It hasn't caught on quite as well as I would have hoped it would. Yeah, I don't even know if it's going to load because we don't pay for that function. And but it's that's the best I can describe it as. MaxiFix is going to give us Identifix type repair information, so you can share with other techs right from your scan tool, which is a kind of a cool feature. It just hasn't caught on the way I was hoping it would. Academy is like the help menu. It's really neat, man. Hey, how do I pay? How do I fix this? How do I do this? How do I do that? So you can go through there, and this hasn't been refreshed in some time, but it's all kinds of, hey, is it possible to get into this vehicle and do this? So while it's not repair information, the Academy is how to use the tool more efficiently, or what features and functions does it have. These two options here are for add-ons. You can add a scope module to this. It's a 4-channel scope. I've heard great things about it. We do not have one. On the occasions that I need to use a scope, I'm still using the scope that I have on my Genesis. And then digital inspection scope, a boroscope attachment is also available for it. So those are kind of cool features. Now this also does have on the back, I think I showed it earlier, but it does have a camera on the back so you can take photos. And it's also good for reading VIN numbers. It has a feature where it'll show that. So there we go with our, I guess I pushed a button there. It's showing this VCI that it's attached to. All right, so update and remote desktop. Remote desktop is the same. Like, if I were going to use this as a shop, as something that I wanted to run a shop with, if this was like a 3 or 4 man shop and I wanted to use the software that comes with it, this software here, the Shop Manager, Data Manager, if I wanted to use those, well then remote desktop is great because I can have a real keyboard, a real mouse, and a much bigger screen. I can do all my database work with that, and it works out pretty well. In here, let's go into diagnostics. This is where most of you guys are going to spend your time. So it's showing that several of these models need updates, which is the reason I brought it home today, actually, because our internet at work doesn't allow updates from this unit for some reason. It just blocks it on the network. But let's pick a vehicle. We'll pick Mitsubishi since I happen to have one. Oh, it's not going to let me do that. I'll tell you what I'll do. Okay, so I've gone ahead and started a car. I put the little dongle in the car, and let's go ahead and see about the diag, because that's where most of y'all are going to spend your time with this vehicle, or with this tool anyway. So we got ourselves a Mitsubishi. Let's see if we can find him. There we go, Mitsubishi. And let's see if it can auto read. This one here is fairly, it's right at the line where some of them read, some of them don't. It's an 05 model. And let's see if it'll find it. Okay, so not available. All right, so we'll have to escape out of that. We'll go with manual selection, and it's a 2005. Let's see if it'll auto scan. There we go. All right, once it's finished this thing, and that took about, oh, I don't know, just shy of 2 minutes to run through it. Obviously, the newer the car, the faster this thing is going to roll through, so just something to be aware of. You can hit report and see it all. Of course, on this vehicle, there actually is no codes, but we'll just hit OK. Then we have a bunch of stuff here, so I can get ECU information, freeze frame data if we had any. We don't have a code. We can look at live data, which is where the money's at. And here we go. And you can pick your, you can pick a few things. Well, that's not going to change very much. We'll take short term. ignition advance, RPM, and bank 1, sensor 1, and we'll say okay, we're going to show that. And of course you have the option here of changing this around. We can look at it as a dials, we can look at this one as a graph if we want to, we can look at this one as a bar. I mean, there's a lot of cool options here, so leave that as that and let's go back to stock. So a lot of interesting stuff. You can increase and decrease the ranges. You can make this one the entire screen. So as far as like features and functions when it comes to the live data, this tool is just awesome when it comes to that stuff. Let me jack this up just slightly. There we go. I don't want the reflection. So it does that all very, very well. And I have found when using this, we compare it to the OTC Evo that we have, and the two of them work fairly well in conjunction. I would say both of them have their ups and downs, but this one certainly beats the OTC when it comes to graphing capabilities and being able to visualize stuff a little better with the different modifications. So let's change that one. We'll change that one to the dial there. So you can see it's very functional. It's very easy to understand, and I give it an A+ for that. Let's back out of that. And I have the vehicle running, so it may not allow me to run any active tests, but here's our bi-directional control, cycling the fuel pump, cycling injectors, cycling a radiator fan. So I mean, there's just a lot of that stuff. Like I said, I can't get into this unless I shut the car off, and the battery's kind of low on the car I'm playing with, so I don't want to do that. But that works for all different modules too, and that's what really makes this thing set apart from, say, the Foxwell, which is a great tool. I mean, I love my Foxwell. I've really gotten a lot of use out of it. If I'm looking at engine diag, the Foxwell does do a lot of bidirectional, but if I were to go into, say, window motors, well, that's where a non-professional scan tool probably wouldn't work quite as well. Go into ABS here. I mean, it's the similar situation. I can look at live data. Of course, we're not moving, so that data might not be that important. It's going to look at battery voltage, vehicle speed, and then it's looking at the sensors. Where are we? Where are we? Are we going to have, is this one rolling at 1 mile an hour and that one rolling at 6 miles an hour? Well, there we go. We have a sensor or a tone ring that's not working properly in the ABS system. This is where you diagnose your problems, okay? Reading a check engine light and reading an ABS light, it might tell you the truth. It might also lie to you. Being able to see the live data, being able to have a scan tool that gives you that live data, and being able to view that live data in a variety of different ways is going to allow you to better diagnose your problems, and that's what really sets these kind of tools apart. The Autel does an excellent job of that visual display. Active test here on ABS. I'm not sure what we have. Okay, so I can activate the various ABS pump valves if I wanted to see if there was a problem there. To be honest with you, in all my years of messing with vehicles, I can't recall when one of those valves has gone bad that it wasn't actually caused by a computer or something like that, where a solder joint had failed, causing one of these valves not to activate. But at least you can rule it out. So if I tell it, hey, I want this valve to open up and buzz, and it won't buzz, well, now I at least know that the circuit going to it or it is bad. So I suppose I could try to isolate it and power it up manually and see if it comes on. That would isolate it as the computer and not the solenoid. Or if I isolated it and powered it up separately and it didn't come on, well, then I know that that valve genuinely is bad. So this is the way diag works. Obviously, if you're a real tech, if you do this stuff for a living, this is all not news to you. But for those of you out there who are getting into this business, or who are just wondering what the difference between a mid-level scanner and a pro-level scanner is, here you are. Here's what it does. Here's the things we do with them. Let's go ahead and back out of that. So that's pretty much it for part one. I might in part two show you some actual diagnostics with this thing. But I feel like with a tool like this, I'm preaching to the choir if I do something like that. So you'll have to let me know. I guess I'll wrap it up with the updates. Then it may not allow me to do updates. No, it actually is going to let me do updates. And there's a bunch. There's a bunch. So let's go ahead and hit update all. Yeah, our contract expired about 2 weeks ago. We're not going to renew it this year. One of the nice things about the Autel unit is if I wait 4 years before renewing the contract, it doesn't matter. It costs the same, and then we can download all the updates then. So that's a pretty cool deal. That's it for today, folks. I'm Eric, the owner of Farpoint Farms. Hope you enjoyed this video. I'll be doing another one on the OTC Evo, which is another pro level scanner, probably a few $1,000s more than this one. This one here, we paid $1,600 for, and or no, $1,800, and the OTC Evo is more in the $300 to $3,500 range. The Evo has some features that I really like, and maybe it's just that I've been working with the Evolve, I'm sorry, not the Evo, the Evolve longer, but it just seems to me like it's got some features and functions that y'all will enjoy. That is not to say that the Autel is not a great tool. It certainly is for the price, and it certainly does most, if not all, of what we need to do in this field. So if you're looking for an inexpensive tool, I certainly would consider this. And that's it for today. I'll see you next time. Take care.
There's always something that needs a little fixing on farm.